Construction Nation. Welcome to Lead with Trust. I'm Sue Dyer, and I've been on a 3-decade journey to figure out how to make sure our construction projects succeed and produce some extraordinary results. My trusted leader journey has led me to work on over 4,000 construction projects worth over $180 billion. In this podcast, I'm here to teach you everything I've learned. One thing I know is that it starts with the leaders of the businesses and organizations that come together to build a project. If that's you, let's get going. Hey, Construction Nation, this is Sue Dyer, and this is the 10th episode of Bringing Women into Construction series. And I'm really excited about this series. It's been fun to do and very interesting to meet all of these fantastic women that are working in construction. And they really do have some great insights for all of us on how we can grow our workforce at this time when we have so many jobs that are going unfilled. And today we're going to listen to Sue Weiler-Doke, who works for company D. Brown Consulting, and they only consult in construction. She has over 30 years with Kiewit. And so she brings a huge amount of industry knowledge and lots of years of working in many different capacities and seeing what's happened with the industry. So I think that she offers us a lot of great insights that can be very helpful to all of us, whether we're just starting or whether we're along in our career, or whether or not we have children, whether it's our own children, nieces, nephews, brothers, sisters, who we think might be a fit for the construction industry. So let's listen in as I talk with Sue about facilitating a panel of women in construction for the Construction Financial Management Association recently. And so we learn all about the lessons she learned from that panel. Let's listen. Hey, so we are here today with another one of our episodes in this series of bringing women into construction. And I'm really excited to introduce all of you to Sue Weiler-Doke, who has been in the industry for a long time and recently ran a panel for the Construction Finance Management Association on bringing women into construction, or women in construction. So we are going to tap into not only her wisdom, but the wisdom of the panel that she ran today. So welcome to Lead with Trust.
Well, thank you so much. And maybe we can call this episode the Sue Squared episode.
Exactly. That sounds perfect. Square might work sometimes.
That's right. That's right.
So tell us all about how you got involved and into construction yourself.
Well, it's both a long story and a short story, right? I guess like most people, right? I was actually born and raised in Nebraska on a farm, and went off to college, got an accounting degree, and said, I'm not sure what I want to do with this. I really don't want to do taxes every day. Had not even graduated yet. And at the time, I went to work immediately out of college for the Kiewit organization, Peter Kiewit's sons. Knew very little about them. They're a very low profile, although very large company. And looking at all of the opportunities that were available for their field accountants, and it all started from a Monday, and by Friday I had a job offer. So it went very quickly. I remember one thing they asked, they said, hey, we don't know, or what would you do if a concrete truck showed up at the office and you didn't know where it went? And I said, well, I don't know much about concrete, but I do know if a cattle truck shows up at your farm in the middle of the night, you close all the gates, you unload the cattle, you count them as they come off, you sign the paperwork, you send the trucker away, and you go back to bed. And apparently that transferable skill made a lot of sense in construction. Got offered the job and immediately went from Nebraska to Central Oregon and started working there. I should have seen it coming then, that the moving was going to start to happen. So that's kind of how I got started.
Well, then, so what happened from there?
Well, so
I'd
so
like
I
people
got
to know
to
the journey. I mean, so many women and other people that might be interested in the industry don't really maybe understand the pathway.
Yeah, so there's a lot of pathways for one into the industry. One is to really look at the fact that construction is like any other business, right? Law firms need all sorts of people, not just lawyers. Construction companies need all sorts of people, not just project managers. Everybody needs a huge menagerie of people. And so one is looking at the industry for really all of the opportunity that's out there. In our panel, we talked a bit about the lack of people. One, just because of demographics, there's not enough people, and two, we have a little bit of an image problem. We're a little dusty and dirty, and some people just don't look at it as a really great place to start. But it is amazing the opportunities that are there, and I think if we just looked for one at the availability of work, the places that things are built, and all of the opportunity inside, it would be huge if people, just kind of looked at it from a broad brush to start. So that's what I'd say is if you're looking at any industry, open up, open up any website on construction, and you'll see all of the opportunity that's out there.
Well, how did you become a consultant now? And how's that path happen?
Well, it's funny because I spent 31 years literally working for the Kiewit organization. So being inside a billion-dollar organization by the time I retired, and got a call one day from a friend of a friend who has a small consulting company that we are all from the construction industry, and we only consult to other construction companies because we get it, right? We understand what some of the operational problems are. We understand what succession planning looks like. We understand what happens when you've got, the original founders. They might want to retire someday, and how we can help them, figure out how they can get out of the organization and move other people up into it. And frankly, we've got a pretty good handle on a lot of other industry friends as to where we can help to get some of those people to come into either that organization or certainly into the industry. So just felt like a really natural fit because had been there, done that for decades. It just made a lot of sense to really bring that back to the industry and help.
Yeah, that's really nice too, to have that resource available to people. I'm a big believer in learning from other people's experiences.
Well, that's right. And I tell you, when you've got in our group, there's about 8 of us that are the actual kind of boots on the ground consultants. We talk to each other all the time. So it's like, hey, I think you did this or went through this in your company, or you've helped another client with this. And it really does help to move things along a lot faster and have that resource. And it's just great to see that we help somebody be better that day. So
Yeah.
it's very cool.
Well, let's jump in and talk a little bit about this panel that you had at the CFMA conference.
Okay.
And I know the topic was women in construction. So tell us a little bit about the panelists, the topics, kind of how it rolled, and then we'll dive in after that to talk about what did you learn.
Okay, perfect. Well, it was interesting. I got the call. Everything starts with a phone call, right? So I got the call. They were asking if I'd be the moderator, and they had a list of people that they wanted on the panel. And it was very interesting. The panelists that we had, one was Kimberly Cook. She is now the sitting president for LB Construction in Sacramento, and new in the seat as of January. So she was, about 10 weeks in when she sat on the panel. So we thought that what a great life lesson we're going to get from the things that she can bring to the table. Another was Kendall Porter from Lund Construction, and she's a project engineer, mostly working out in the field. And she's been, I think, with Lund the 3-4 years, and so she was bringing that new, fresh perspective. What can we tell that generation as to why we should be coming into the industry, and how we can help specifically her and others with the shorter amount of experience to excel beyond that. And then we also had Kelly Cohen, who's a director with Excel Construction, again in the Sacramento area, and they're a commercial GC that works all over Northern California. And she's been with that organization for quite some time. And again, she's got a huge business unit that she's been over for a while. So she's got some depth in that position. So we really saw that it was going to be a really good panel because of the experience, the long-term experience, short-term experience, the time in the seat, new time in the seat. We're going to be able to get a lot of good information. And it was the funniest part is when we started with the questions. There was a set of sample questions sent, and it's like, okay, well, let's start with, again, how did you get into construction, and what's your advice and things like that. And we kind of decided we were going to go a whole different way and talk about, okay, how has the culture changed? Certainly, like for Kimberly, how did the culture change when she knew she was the successor maybe a few years ago? What happened? How did she help to move that? How did the founders that were going to step away help to move that culture to really see her as the president and not just as, the first woman president? But how, what happened there? We talked about pay equity, and Kelly took us down the road of exactly what they did, how they compared payroll and how they looked at who was being paid what, and how they literally dove in line by line by line to make sure they had equity across the board and how they made those changes. So we had some great topics that we were talking about. And I think there were a lot of pencils flying in the audience. So a lot of notes are being taken.
Well, let's dive into those two topics. So what did you learn from being a newly minted female president for a construction company? And what kind of cultural changes happened or needed to happen? And how did they make that happen?
Right. And I tell you, Kimberly had a great, many pieces of a great story. And a lot of it happened with the senior leadership team, the executive team, including the two founders, really sitting down with their executive team about 5 years ago and saying, we are going to be needing to look for a transition. And this is how we're going to start, laying this transition out. And these are the people that we want running this organization. And we are looking at a very collaborative effort to be able to do that. And as they moved into this 5 years of really planning and talking and collaborating, the owners were not at all shy about saying, hey, we're moving towards this. We don't have an exact date, but we're moving towards this. And they started to move some of the responsibility over, right? We need a new policy for something. Well, they would take it to that next level of leadership and say, let's see how you guys do on this. So they had a great, almost offboarding plan for the two owners so that they could continually move these things over. What Kimberly saw was that really the organization was very accepting of her and the new vice president coming in and the rest of the senior leadership team, because they'd been told over and over and over again that this is how it's going to go. So in her case, communication was absolutely key, because she knew, not only did she know that the owners had her back and the new vice president was going to have her back, everybody knew that, because they were very clear about it. They spoke about it consistently, frequently, and the communication was just fabulous. And it just really kind of evolved over the course of that 5-year time span of planning. So she found that very, very beneficial.
Yeah, my experience in succession is that if you don't start at least 5 years out,
yeah,
very challenging.
Yeah, I've got one gentleman I'm talking to, and he's like, I'd like to be out in 3. I said, I wish I'd have known that 3 ago. So,
Tell
yeah.
people, give me 10 or 11 years and you'll probably be in good shape. Yeah.
Well, that's right. Especially if you're an owner, there's
Yeah.
there's the money side, and then there's the whole transition of power side, and there's a lot to do. There's a lot of challenges that come up with that.
So what about pay equity? What did you guys learn about pay equity?
Well, what we learned was when you watched the crowd, for one, and we talked pay equity, some people sat very straight up in their chair and others kind of scrunched down a little bit like, oh, geez, yeah, we should probably be doing a better job of analyzing, right? Not that they thought they were doing anything wrong. They just had not really dove in head first to take a look at it. And what we found out, Kelly gave us a great almost step by step of what they did, where they went through and pulled all the payroll from the whole company. They sat down and looked at it by position, and then they looked at it by years of experience in those positions or even in the company. They analyzed it probably in about 4 or 5 different ways. And then they made sure that they looked, of course, the male and female, and with the whole position and years of experience in the organization, years of experience in the position. And they found that in a couple of cases, the women were making, if not as much more. And then they also found that they had a number of cases where until they had put them side by side, they didn't realize that they did have a little bit of a problem. And so they sat down as an executive team, said, this is what we need to fix this. And they put a plan together to how they were going to fix it in their next pay structure, their next comp package change. If somebody was really out of whack, how they were going to fix it now so that everybody could be in line for that next review and comp review. And they took very deliberate, written out action. And if they also found that if people were behind, male or female, they put together some improvement plans and said, hey, maybe we're just not giving any of these people enough that maybe are falling a little bit behind. So they found some ways that they could spread it around to the whole organization and make it better by looking at why people were behind, not just necessarily the pay equity problem between, the genders. So they found a lot of great stuff out of it.
That's great. It sounds like a good and analytical process that probably not too many people spend the time doing. They're so busy in the industry. There's a fire burning somewhere. Yeah.
That's right.
What do you see as the biggest barriers for attracting girls and women into entering into the industry?
We talked a little bit about that at the panel as well. And some of it is, one, the women that are in the industry, we just need to get out there more and talk about it and talk to people and show them, for one, it's okay. It's okay to have a job where you can show up in jeans every day and work boots. When I used to do a job fair with some college hiring I was doing, I would show up for those job fairs with my t-shirt, my jeans, my boots, carry my hard hat under my arm. And, we got a lot of interest because it was something that was slightly different. But I think a lot of it is we really need to explain what the situation can be. It doesn't have to be, up to your eyeballs in dirt every day. It doesn't have to be 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can find the company that does the work that interests you in an environment that is workable for you, right? For anybody. I know when I worked for the Kiewit organization, it was a great organization. It was not right for everybody. It was, Mach 5 hair on fire all the time. And, you find the culture that you like, and that's the company you go to work for. So my advice would be, we need to get out there, but we need to talk more about the culture inside the organization so that they can see, everybody can see, these are great places to work. Regardless of what we do, it's a great place to work and wanting to come for that. So talking more about the cultures would be very, very helpful.
I think that's really smart too. The contractors can just even have that in their paradigm, in their mind, that they want to be a great place to work. That would make you make a lot of different decisions maybe than you might otherwise make.
Right. Well, they need to know the value that they can give to the employee and be able to actually articulate that back out. And that's, not a lot of construction companies have done that before, and it's a game changer. Absolute game changer.
Well, and the game has changed.
It has changed a lot.
The game has completely changed after COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, and the new generation that's coming in, but the game has changed in so many ways that the old ways of employing people or treating people like they're a commodity. I think that's long gone. They're going to be gone if you treat them that way.
Well, that's right. And there's a fit out there for every employee. It's just a matter of knowing what you want and how you want to bring your best self to work, finding the company that wants that best self. Yes. And just looking around, they're available. They're everywhere in construction. It's just
that's what I love about construction. There's so many things you can do. Really, anything that you have a gift for, you could apply it in the industry in some manner, and really be excited. I mean, that's right. Really an exciting industry.
It is, and I always love to say, you know what? It's a great day when your boots can get dirty instead of just dusty, right? You can put them on and go outside.
That's true. Or you get to drive in a seat with a
Yep.
Something big that you get to drive.
That's right.
Too. So besides filling 500 million construction jobs that are currently unfilled, what benefits do you think women bring or might bring to the industry?
Well, it's like anything else, right? I always ask an estimator, right? You go in and they're talking about this job and they're trying to find the best way to put this estimate together. And, they've got a group of maybe 5 or 6 people in a room and they're brainstorming, trying to find a better way to kind of build this mousetrap. And they come out and they've got a really solid, really tight, really good estimate because they put all those ideas together. And I look at it and I said, why would you want to exclude half the population from that kind of collaboration when you would never ask all of the same people to come in and look at an estimate every single time? Because they don't bring the diversity of thought to the schedule, to the logistics, to any of that. And that's what women can bring. They can bring that diversity of thought, looking at it a different way, a better way to build that mousetrap, a better way to evolve that culture, an out of the box way of thinking for any problem that any business can have. If you're going to be working with senior VPs of clients that are going to be women, and you're going to be working with, if you're not the general, you're going to be working with general contractors who have senior PMs that are women, you might want to be thinking how those people are looking at the solutions as well, and have that much more of a diversified voice in how you're going to propose solutions to the problems that construction brings, right? It just makes sense to have all of those thoughts in the room and not just always go with your same thoughts, because who are the companies that grow, right? The ones that kind of get their head up and look around and see what's out there and look in all directions to try to find, that new market, that new geography, that new way of talking to the client. And that is certainly one thing women can bring, is that new voice and a new way to negotiate, a new way to schedule, a new way to do just about anything that construction can throw their way.
Yeah, I think there's quite a bit of research. I think the Harvard Business Review has several articles on when you have women in your troops, they're much more productive. I can't remember this exact statistic, but I think it's around 20%. So it's not insignificant. So
right, exactly.
So what are things that we can do, us in the industry, not just women, but everyone, that could make it more welcoming for women to come into the industry?
Well, one, I think, is to talk about what the real environment is, and to tell the story, right? We are probably, this is very used, but we are probably the best kept secret for an industry that women can go into. It can be great money. it can be a lot of opportunity. It can be a lot of leadership opportunity, mentorship opportunity. I mean, what a way to make a difference in other people's lives. But we don't tell a very good story of our industry. We've gone with whatever it was in the 50s and 60s, and it is not that, it's not your grandpa's construction company anymore. So one is telling the real story of what it is, that we don't have the horror stories of 20, 30 years ago. We don't have the 14, 16-hour days. Now, occasionally there's a concrete pour and you got to get that done, but we just don't have that. There are opportunities out there. There's a story to tell. And I think each industry needs to have a better story. And I think each company needs to say, again, why they bring value, not just to the industry, but why they bring value to their employees. Are they in a great spot where employees want to work? Do they show growth over the next 10 years and look at where they can go? Do they have a lot of community service? Maybe that's something that they bring value add to. I think a lot of it is getting our story straight, right? Telling people what the story really is, and then getting out there and getting in the classroom in colleges. I don't know why every construction company doesn't have their special thing, right? And whether it's deep foundation or whether it's rock crushing or something, that they don't have their story that they can take into the classroom. So people can hear it on a regular basis, not just through academia, but through real life. That we need to be getting to career fairs, right? The career fairs, whether they're at a college or whether they're, at a street fair on a Saturday, right? Get our message out there. And I love it when people do the big, huge, day, bring your kid to work day. I've seen it where they've got excavators and they've got loaders and they've got all sorts of stuff. And I tell you, the kids just light up with that stuff. And not just the little kids, right? It's the 15, 16, 17-year-olds that are going, I want to be on one of those, or I want to be, in a work group that works with that.
Yeah,
and
years ago, I used to run a construction rodeo.
Yep. Yes, exactly.
Very fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody of any age could participate.
Yep. And that really does get the word out as well, because then you can, again, not just do that, but talk about what the industry really does look like and what, what itch does that scratch for people, so they get a little more excited about taking a look at it. So I think talking about it at any moment we can is where we need to be.
I just think every of us need to just think about that. What is our story that we can tell, and where can we tell it? It's not just talking to the same people, but
That's
people
right.
that are outside of it. And so that it becomes more well known, because one of the things in these interviews I'm hearing is either you grew up in it and you knew about it, or you didn't know it, you just happened to fall into it somehow. It wasn't anything that you actually knew about. So I think we aren't doing a very good job of marketing it, that's for sure.
That's exactly right.
And in the trades, it's always been sort of mysterious. You had to know someone who knew someone who knew someone to know when and where to go and how to even apply. So.
Right. And it is funny. I was coming back from a client meeting the other day, and the radio ads all over the place. There's the laborers union is having a career fair day, and they've got it all over the place. Come take a look, see what we do, where we work, the money you can make, and trying to, again, get the story out there and change that image of what people might think it looks like.
Yeah, I think that from some of the interviews I've done, the labor unions in the trades are doing a lot of new things that they've never done before. Yeah.
That's right. Well, who knew we'd have drones as part of our construction equipment?
Well, just wait till they're all run by AI intelligence. And, I know first time we used a drone was on a big bridge, over a huge bridge. This bridge was so large, you could see it from an airplane. You could see it from satellites. It was very large. And so it's pretty hard it was way high up, pretty hard to inspect it. So they used drones to inspect it. We've used them also on the outside of buildings to look at the welds. We've used them
Yep.
to count the bolts. We've used them for all sorts of things. Certainly we use them for quantities on large projects. Yeah, I mean, the technologies that exist today
Mhm.
did not exist 10 years ago.
Right.
And what will happen in 10 years will be exponentially different. So that just creates more and more and more opportunities for people, and particularly women. There's not the barriers of you got to be a muscle guy
Right.
anymore to be in construction. But you know, even my mom during World War II was a welder. So
Yep. Yep.
5 foot, less than 5 feet, but she always tried to be 5 feet. Weighed under 100 pounds. So she welded just fine.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So any parting advice for all of us out there in construction, whether it's the trades or contractors, subcontractors, owners, designers, on what we can do to help bring more people into the industry, and in particular women?
Yeah. Well, one piece of advice is, and we've chatted a little bit about this already, is talk to anybody that'll listen, right? And you said it, right? Don't just talk to the same people we talk to. If you're at a Memorial Day, Labor Day, 4th of July picnic, bring up a conversation and start talking about it. Because chances are those people, if they're your neighbors or friends or neighbors' friends, they may not have any idea about it. We need to talk, at least in my infrastructure lingo, we need to talk about what happens on the other side of the cones. It's mysterious. So let's just normalize it. Let's make it a little less mysterious and just tell people what it is and get them at least thinking about it and possibly even asking a couple of questions. So that'd be the first place I go. And the second one is, when you get asked a question, have a really good elevator speech handy, right? You may only get a minute to 2 minutes with a person before you lose their interest. So have the bullet points in your head as to why you love this industry. People will hear that. They absolutely hear the enthusiasm. And if they know it gets you to jump out of bed every day and run to work, they're going to be thinking about that same thing, right? So we should never be caught off guard with someone who's interested in what we do. Sometimes
and that's something everyone listening could do. That put together 3 bullet points or something.
That's right.
Have it in your head.
That's right.
And just talk to people about it. Tell them, they ask them what you do, say, I work in construction. I love it because
yep, that's right.
Because we have your 6 bullet points ready, and then people will ask you more information. Well, why do you like it? Why do you? And then you've caught them.
That's right. That's right. You need to place the hook.
Well, thank you so much, Sue, for being here and being a guest and being a part of this series. And I hope everybody out there will take just even one of these great ideas and start implementing them so that we keep pushing it forward.
Right.
You know, even this year we've made strides in getting more women into the industry, and I just see it beginning to move, and we all need to be a part of that.
I agree. You know, go out and tell 2 friends, and those friends can tell 2 friends, and they can tell 2 friends, and pretty soon we've got a movement on our hands.
Yes, we do. That's what we're trying. Let's hope so.
That's right. That's right.
Thanks so much, Sue.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Construction Nation, I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Lead with Trust. Will you do me a favor? If you think this episode can help anyone on your team or business, please forward it to them. Please subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And your honest review, hopefully 5 stars, is much appreciated. Every leader who learns how to build their business and projects on a foundation of trust is going to reap the rewards of greater productivity, attracting the best of the best, enjoying your business more, and doing things you thought were impossible. If you want to know where you are in your trusted leader journey, I have a free resource for you. Please just go to sudyco.com/profile, sudyco.com/profile. And you can grab it there and find out where you are on your trusted leader journey. And so that is a wrap for today. Can't wait until I get a chance to hang out with you again next week. And until then, have a great day.